This is science for Wednesday, December 2nd, and we are going to do things backwards today. I have been reviewing for the test first and then reading, but I'm going to read today first and we'll end with reviewing for the test. So we've been talking about animals. We decided we read and learned that you can divide animals into two groups. Vertebrates, which are animals with a backbone, and invertebrates, which are animals without a backbone. And then we started learning first about the vertebrates, because there are 5 groups of vertebrates: mammals, fish, birds, reptiles, and amphibians. We've learned about mammals, and we discussed some characteristics of mammals. So they make milk for their babies and take good care of their young. No mammal has more than 4 limbs. Remember, limbs or legs, arms, or wings, or flippers. They have at least some hair or fur. All mammals have lungs and breathe air like we do. And then yesterday we learned whales and dolphins and porpoises also have lungs, so they are mammals. And all mammals are warm-blooded. Okay? Now, you might say, but whales don't have hair or fur. Well, we've looked it up in the past, and we found out that when they are babies, that they have a tiny, tiny bit of hair on them. Okay? And it may disappear as they get older, but when they are babies, you can find little hairs on them. So not as much as some creatures, but they do have a little bit of hair. All right, today we're going to talk about fish, and then I'll pull down the mammal chart, and we'll look at the fish characteristics. But let's start with the terms to remember at the top of page 165. Again, if you need to pause the video while you turn to page 165, you need to do this because you need to be on 165 following along as I read and reading the terms to remember with me just like you do in class. All right, so turn to page 165 and read the terms to remember with me. Gills, what fish use to get oxygen from water. In other words, we breathe with lungs, they use gills, and they actually can get oxygen from water. If you went underwater and tried to breathe, you could not, because you get oxygen from the air. But at the same time, if you pull a fish out of water and leave him in the air, then he would die because he cannot get oxygen from the air. He can only get oxygen from the water. That is the way God made him, with his gills. All right, cold-blooded, having a body temperature that changes with the surrounding temperature. And predator, an animal that hunts other animals for food. So that would definitely be a carnivore, right? All right, so let's begin where it says fish. Do you have a pet fish? If so, you know much about our next class of vertebrates. Like all other vertebrates, fish have a skeleton on the inside of their bodies where their backbone is found. Some fish are born alive, but most hatch from eggs. All of this happens in the water. In fact, fish live in water their entire lives. Instead of getting oxygen from the air, fish breathe oxygen from the water using gills. Gills act like a filter to catch oxygen from the water for the fish to use. Fish move very differently from land animals. Instead of walking on limbs, fish swim using their tail fins. God designed their bodies to glide through the water. There are many different kinds of fish. They come in many different sizes, colors, and shapes. Most fish are covered with scales that act like armor, which protects them. But not all fish have scales. All right, so you can look at that picture, and they are showing you a close-up of gills and what they look like, and they're showing you where the gills would be on that fish, like right behind their head. But if you open that little flap right there, you could see these little things in there, and that's how they get the oxygen from the water. And then the bottom picture is showing you a close-up of the scales that most fish are covered with. All right, turn a page. All right. There's an experiment there. Has to do with catching coffee grounds in the same way a fish's gills catch oxygen using a coffee filter. All Alright, so maybe you could do that. I don't happen to have a coffee maker that actually uses a filter like this. So, but if you want to do that at home, you could. Alright, fish can smell extremely well, but their hearing is very poor. Instead of hearing, they feel vibrations. If you are walking beside a pond that fish are in, they will swim away. They do not hear your footsteps, they feel them. Alright, so when I was little and I go fishing, they would say, you need to be quiet or you're scaring the fish away. But that's not really true, because they can't hear very well, but they feel the vibrations. So if you're running around, they will feel the vibrations of you running around. All right, fish are cold-blooded. Remember, mammals are warm-blooded. They stay the same temperature no matter what the outside temperature is. Fish are cold-blooded. They cannot make their own body heat, but they depend on the sun's heat energy to warm them. The sun heats the water the fish live in. Their body temperature changes when the temperature of the water changes. Their movement slows down when the water becomes cold. They move faster when the water is warm. Top of the next page. All right, cold-blooded animals get slower when it's cold. Most fish are carnivores, eating other fish and water creatures. Some bigger fish, such as sharks, are predators. A predator is an animal that hunts other animals for food. Predator sharks have sharp, saw-like teeth and are designed to swim with speed. Even the best submarine cannot maneuver as well as a shark. Many sharks are as large as whales. We can always tell the difference between these two kinds of animals by looking at their characteristics. Whales have flippers that move up and down and get air for their lungs by using blowholes. Sharks have fins that move side to side and get oxygen using their gills. And if you look at that picture of that shark, you can see his gill slits right there on the side in front of that side fin. Those are his gill slits. All right, those are the fish characteristics, which is going to be on the next chart. All fish have gills, all fish have fins, all fish are cold-blooded. All right, if you turn the page, you're going to see some pictures that you need to look at. Can you name the fish on this page? All right, so that orange one, all right, you guys know that one from Finding Nemo, but what kind of fish is that? Orange and white and black? That is a clownfish, right? All right, and then you just saw one on the previous page, that big long one, that is a shark, all right? And the one that almost looks like it has a horse's nose, that one actually is a seahorse, right? Okay, so a seahorse is a type of fish. Then we have the blue one, that's a betta fish. Some of you might have a betta for a pet, and a goldfish. Some of you might have a goldfish for a pet. And then that big one at the bottom, that is a manta ray. A manta ray. All right, what do fish use to breathe oxygen? Gills. I hope you said gills. We use lungs because we're mammals, but fish use gills. What covering do most fish have? Not all, but most fish have scales. And where can you find a fish's skeleton? Inside its body. All right, you would not see it unless it died and decayed, or unless you caught it and took it home and filleted it, and then you would see its skeleton inside its body. All right, so we're going to review again the mammal chart and talk about ways that mammals are alike. All right, mammals again, they make milk for their babies and take good care of their young. No mammal has more than 4 limbs. They have at least some hair or fur. All mammals have lungs and breathe air. All mammals are warm-blooded. All right, now I'm going to move to the fish chart. Fish characteristics. All fish have gills. All fish have fins. All fish are cold-blooded. So how are mammals and fish different? Well, mammals are warm-blooded. Fish are cold-blooded. Mammals have 4 limbs, no more than 4 limbs. Fish have fins. Mammals have hair or fur. Fish may have scales. This is not on there because not all fish have scales. And mammals breathe with lungs, and fish breathe with gills. All right, now let's move on to reviewing for the test. All right, we're going to start with the solar system chart. You will need to know this for the test. Sun, Mercury, Venus, Earth, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune. And again, Sun, Mercury, Venus, Earth, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune. All right, and I'm going to leave that up there while I review with you. That is what you need to know for the test. All right, when all of the moon is visible, we say that it is a full moon. What is a small piece of space rock traveling in space? All right, we learned about a big piece of rock orbiting the sun would be an asteroid, but a small piece traveling through space would be a meteoroid. A meteoroid. What is the sun and all the heavenly bodies that orbit it? The sun and all the heavenly bodies that orbit it? That would be the solar system. There it is, right there on the chart. The sun and all the heavenly bodies, the solar system. What is something natural, or it could be man-made, that orbits Earth? The natural one is the moon, and then there are man-made satellites. Satellites. Something natural or man-made that orbits Earth is a satellite. What's a group of stars that make a picture? Constellation. Constellation. Hopefully that's what you said. What's the star that is almost always right above the North Pole? The North Star. North Pole, North Star. What's that word that means suitable for life? Suitable for life. In other words, Earth. Earth is suitable for life. Earth is habitable. Habitable. And what is the star that's closest to the Earth? Think of our solar system chart. The star that's closest to the Earth is the sun. Don't forget that. Scientists in space can live and work there in what? That would be a space station. A space station. And the moon reflects the light of the sun. Okay? The moon reflects the light of the sun. The moon does not have its own light. It reflects just like a mirror reflects light. It reflects the sun's light. The tilt of the earth towards the sun or away from the sun gives us our seasons. Okay, remember when we're tilted toward the sun, then we're having summer. When we're tilted away from the sun, we're having winter. What is a natural satellite of Earth? Remember we said that something natural, man-made that orbits the Earth is a satellite. So what is the natural satellite of Earth? That's the moon. The moon is a natural satellite. We didn't make it. God made it. It's a natural satellite of Earth, the moon. The Earth continually spins or rotates on its, think of the globe, spinning. I picked up the globe and I spun it and there was this rod. Now we don't really have a rod that you can see, but our globe does, and it's an axis. Very good. Axis. The Earth continually spins or rotates on its axis. The moon's gravity affects the ocean's tides. High tide, low tide. What causes high tide and low tide? The gravity of the moon. So the moon's gravity affects the ocean's tides. Things that God created stay the same. So we say this is constant. The things God created to stay the same are constant. What are the 4 planets that are farthest from the sun? They are the outer planets. Remember, the ones closer to the sun were the inner planets. All right. What is the planet that takes longest to orbit the sun? That's the one that's farthest away. So that would be Neptune. Neptune. What's the only planet that's habitable? Habitable, suitable for life? That would be Earth. Which one is the red planet? The red planet? Mars. Mercury, Venus, Earth, Mars. The red planet. What is the planet that's tipped on its side? That would be this one. You can actually see rings going the wrong direction. So that's Uranus. Uranus. What is the largest planet with rings? That would be Saturn. Saturn, the largest planet with rings. What is the largest planet? And it also has a great red spot where there's a storm. That would be Jupiter. Jupiter, the largest planet. The brightest planet, and also called Earth's twin, that would be Venus. It's very close to Earth and very close in size. Similar in size, so Venus. And the smallest planet, one that's closest to the sun, that's Mercury. Mercury, right there. Okay? What is the center of our solar system? The sun, right there. That's the center, and all the planets orbiting around it. So the sun is the center of our solar system. What is a hole on the surface of the moon or another planet? Probably where a meteor hit or something hit. That would be a crater. Crater. Remember we talked about the moon's craters? What? Our solar system is part of what galaxy? Our solar system, this is our solar system, is part of a bigger galaxy called the Milky Way. Just like the candy bar, the Milky Way galaxy. What is a continual path around the sun? Think of the chart. A continual path around the sun. Orbit. Orbit. And when North America is tilted toward the sun, what season is that? North America is having summer because you're closer to the sun. When North America is tilted toward the sun, we're having summer in North America. Planets orbit the sun because of the sun's what? What of the sun causes us to orbit and to stay in this orbit? The sun's gravity. The sun's gravity keeps us in orbit. So planets orbit the sun because of the sun's gravity. All right, let's go ahead and look at the chart one more time, and then I'm going to talk about the short answer questions. So, Sun, Mercury, Venus, Earth, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune. All right, the only other thing you're going to have on your test is a short answer question, and the short answer question has to do with ways that the Earth is designed for life. Okay, ways that the Earth is designed for life. All right, so one of those is its distance from the sun. These are short answers, so they don't have to be written in sentences. That's one of them. The other is its temperature. We have a suitable temperature. Other planets would be too hot or too cold. Another one is that we have plant life. Other planets do not have plant life, and we learned when we were studying plants that all living things depend on plants. Even carnivores, they eat animals that eat plants, so we must have plant life. All right, then we have the right atmosphere. Just the right gases that we need to breathe through the right atmosphere. All right, and another one is weather. We have the right kind of weather. And the last one would be a water cycle. We also need water, so we have a water cycle where we continually are having water. So all those are good answers. Distance from the sun, temperature, plant life, right atmosphere, weather, and water cycle. You need to make sure you know those, okay? Because you will have to write them, okay? So you will have to write some of them. You won't have to write all of them, but you will have to write some of them. All right. Next we'll be doing history.